Hello and welcome. My name is Meepolis, she, they, and this is Literally Graphic. And today we are looking at another book off of my Black Comics TBR, link in the corner, namely Nat Turner by Kyle Baker. This book was self-published in 2006 and then republished by Abrams in 2008. Content notes: violence, killing children, whipping, enslavement, abuse of women, branding, feeding people to sharks, loss of limbs, and execution/lynching. As far as how violence is depicted throughout the book, I felt like the brutality of the systematic enslavement of Africans by Europeans was portrayed in a way that doesn't pull any punches, but also doesn't linger or fetishize. I am certainly not the definitive judge of these things, but am someone who is trying to think more deeply about the depiction of violence. In serving up this important story of violent revolt to an ignorant audience, it appears as if Baker thought very deeply about how to convince people who might be generally against violence of the rightness of Turner's cause and actions. In this book, the narrative definitely started out in a far different place and time than I was expecting, but this does an excellent job of setting readers up for the context of Turner's rebellion in 1831. Moving along to the Black YouTuber I wanted to highlight for this review. As of writing of this script, Tristan of Step Back History had just released a video entitled The Jamaican Maroons, Mutual Aid to Escape Slavery with a Black YouTuber named St. Andrew. If you are not aware, a general definition of Maroons, they are communities of self-emancipated Black people throughout the Americas and the Caribbean. So it seemed like such a perfect match. St. Andrew has also done videos called Carnival and Class Struggle, Why It Sucks to Be Young, and Land Back, the Indigenous Liberation Movement. A very recent follow. I'm very interested to see where they go from here, and you probably should be too. Jumping back to Kyle Baker, perusing his lengthy entry on Wikipedia, I came away with the following information. Baker was born in Queens, New York, and while in high school, he became an intern at Marvel, despite thinking he would get into funny comics, not superheroes. He went on to do work on classic X-Men, Truth, Red, White, and Black, Deadpool, Why I Hate Saturn, Elseworlds, 80-Page Giant, Plastic Man, The Spirit, House in Space, Mystery in Space, Goosebumps, Volume 3, and The Baker's Babies and Kittens, among many, many, many other works. He's won many Eisner and Harvey Awards, as well as several Glyph Comic Awards. My library carries many of his titles, and I will certainly be circling back to more of his work. What kind of keywords would I use to describe this book? Storyboarding, creative nonfiction, American history, biography, and revolution. The Goodreads description is the story of Nat Turner and his slave rebellion, which began on August 21st, 1831 in Southampton County, Virginia, is known among school children and adults. To some, he is a hero, a symbol of Black resistance, and a precursor to the civil rights movement. To others, he is a monster, a murderer whose name is never uttered. In Nat Turner, acclaimed author and illustrator Kyle Baker depicts the evils of slavery in this moving and historically accurate story of Nat Turner's slave rebellion. Told nearly wordlessly, every image resonates with the reader as the brutal story unfolds. The word choice for this comic is perhaps one of the most interesting choices made in the making of this comic, namely the choice to use the words of Nat Turner themselves, as recorded by Thomas R. Gray in the Confessions of Nat Turner, the leader of the late insurrection of Southampton, Virginia, divided into very digestible and effective chunks placed adjacent to the visual narrative. Otherwise, long sections of this book are wordless, and the art really carries the narrative. An unusual choice, I do think there is a particular power to the use of original documents, and this was done very well. The art in this book is very dynamic, with a very limited color palette. Baker focuses a lot on facial expressions and movement. It often felt like the characters were jumping off the page. Being a book very focused on the rebellion led by Nat Turner, the gender and sexuality aspects are a bit one note. That said, the first section of the book focuses on the enslavement of his mother. Baker also includes Nat Turner having his own love and children and then being sold away from each other. Race is obviously a focus of this book, and Kyle Baker doesn't pull punches. Beside the obvious white versus black dynamic, Baker also shows a black foreman punishing other black slaves. Obviously, slavery is kind of separate from class. Let's just take a minute to think about how many people are still wealthy because their families own slaves, and the ways that poor whites were, with a few exceptions, convinced to side with the rich plantation owners rather than building solidarity with black slaves. Ability versus disability is not explored in a traditional sense, but we are witness to people having their bodies ripped apart and destroyed as a means of control and suppression. Overall, this was not a very fun read, obviously, but one that left me with a certain level of awe, not only because this is really important but overlooked part of history, people fighting for their own freedom, but also because of the amount of skill that went into the construction of the book. 5 out of 5 stars. Will be highly recommending to other people. Bye y'all, keep reading and resist white supremacy. And as always, Literally Graphic is created on land that should be given back to the traditional landholders, which in this case is, to my knowledge, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation.